You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to the line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same.
I'm not ready to end the fight. I'm not ready to back down. 'Cause I've been through hell and I don't have time to go round and round and round. It's too late to turn back now. You know I wouldn't if I could. 'Cause I'm proud as hell. I can't bring myself to do what it is you think I should.
Well, hello everybody. This is the Jen and Rick Show. I'm one half of the crew, Rick. She's the other half, Jen. And I thought about tormenting her today and playing some of the Boomer Sooner fight song because our show Divided was actually decided last Saturday, and somehow my team managed to pull it off. But I've been feeling well all week, so I just figured I'd spare her some torment because she's had to keep our bet that she on that. And believe it, it's been surprising. She actually honored it. And I even told her I wasn't really going to hold her to it, and she kept doing it anyway.
I do forget, though, and I'm like, all right, I've been talking all, okay, Boomer Sooner.
Oh, see, I actually fully expected to lose the bet, and I had actually planned on making it even worse on myself. I was going to scream out hook 'em horns every night before we went off the air.
Oh, at least it was a good game. It was a good game. I mean,
dude, it was a it was a scary game. I'm not even going to lie.
I mean, stats-wise, y'all should have scored 70. But kept in zone.
There were at least a couple calls in there that I'm looking at the refs going, did you have your eyes dilated before you came out here? I mean, there was one pretty blatant pass interference call that was missed. I'll give them the rest of them, but that one I'm just like, okay. So
well, I don't know if you realize this, but it is not much of a secret that the Big 12 refs are absolutely terrible.
Oh no, it's no secret at all. I'm just saying.
They've been awful everywhere they've traveled, whether it's been between, no matter which crew, sometimes like if we go play another conference, then the Big 12 crew will be the one officiating. If they play in our conference, then their crew will officiate it off, it rotates with the home and home or whatever. But yeah, they've just been terrible. They were the ones in the that called our Cal game in that we played Cal that had just horrendous officiating, just so terribly bad. In fact, the end that cost, any chance at the game. So, yeah, they're not good. They're about as bad as the league is.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, I mean, pleasantly surprised. Well, except for that Harlem Globetrotter thing there at the end, I was like, would somebody please just tackle one of them? I didn't really know what was happening there because it was like my guys were just standing there watching them throw the ball back and forth, and I'm like, are you guys just gonna watch them keep doing this? And then and then your guys forgot which way to go, so I felt a little better.
Well, and so for anybody who doesn't know, like I actually went to the game. It's at a neutral site. It's in Dallas, which is about halfway in between Norman and Austin. It's at the State Fair. It's in the Cotton Bowl in the middle of the State Fair. The energy, the atmosphere is just electric. It is so much fun. I've been going for over 20 years. My family's been going for 30 or 40, whatever, something around there. And it is just one of these to die for situations. And rarely is it bad weather. It's almost always clear skies and sunny and not too hot, not cold, just perfect football weather. And here's the difference between I've been to other rivalry games. I've been to other rivalry games with Texas, and I've been to other rivalry games actually with OU as well. And one thing that stands out to me about it, besides just the whole, split stadium in half, just burnt orange and crimson, it's so cool right down the middle. But the way the fans interact, there's just a difference to it than say like Texas and the Aggies or Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. There's a respect. There's an acknowledgement that like we're both at like the best rivalry game in college football. And that's something to be proud of. And typically our teams are also, this game is one that can make or break a national championship run. That's not the case this year, but that's more often the case than not, which is really cool that it has such national implications as well. So it's just so much fun. And then, of course, afterwards, there's amazing fried food and entertainment, and Fletcher's Corny Dogs are where you have to go. But it's like Christmas for a college football fan. It is so much fun. So I find that even when we do lose, and no matter how heartbreaking the game is, I would still rather go to that game and lose over and over and over again than never go at all and win. It's that awesome. It's that much fun. And the fans are that cool to one another. Like, it's about respect, and it's about tradition, and it's just amazing. I just can't even, I'll just sit here and gush all night.
Nice. Okay, so I call one shenanigan. I'm sorry, I don't really consider it neutral territory when the stadium where it's played every year is in Texas. Just saying.
Except for, you know how many dang Okies are in Dallas? It is insane. And some of my family as a part of that.
Oh, no, I'm just messing with you. It's okay.
And
as an Oklahoman, I refuse to call anywhere in Texas neutral territory when we're playing
blah,
Texas.
Blah, blah, blah.
Oh, so anyway, I think we've talked about the game enough. I just thought it'd be something fun to open with before we dive into this mess.
Totally, because politics. I've got a lot to rant about.
So anyway, so since we hadn't really done one since the last debate and you weren't able to join us for the roundtable, what were your thoughts of the last debate?
Yeah, I can just sum it up real quick. I thought that he had her on the defensive. I thought that he displayed a calmness and, he still has his moments where he gets kind of worked up and he starts steaming, but, he didn't do as much of his yelling and interrupting. He's still interrupted, but, not Trump style, for the entire debate. I felt like he kept his cool and kind of got her goat, like, quite a few times throughout that. It was so much more even keeled than I could have ever expected it would be. And it just shows you how terrible she is at this, that he came out looking, at least breaking even, if not looking good. So that was my overall impression. I think that she held back a lot. I thought she was going to hit him a lot harder on the disrespecting women stuff, and especially with the tape coming out. And it was no surprise that he, after having done the press conference, that he brought up Bill's predatorial ways and affairs. So I think she's kind of keeping it close to her chest, because at this point he does a good job imploding all on his own and making his poll numbers drop by himself without any help from her. So I don't know if it was that, or if she just didn't want him to dig deeper and to berate her with, Bill's infidelities. I don't know. But I was surprised at how kind of lightweight she went on that. And then how little, yelling he did. So I don't know. It was interesting. And I think that he at least somewhat improved and did a better job in this debate than certainly the first one.
Yeah, overall, I have to give that one to him. It wasn't anything stellar for anybody, but
no, that's why I said it. It shows you how bad she is if he came out looking good. Because he's terrible at this, absolutely terrible. And she has her talking points and everything, but she has a hard time coming across as genuine. First of all, of course, and then second of all, like anything is. Everything she just redirects back to basically a memorized note card with a little and a shoulder shake. It's not exceedingly brilliant.
No,
for either of them.
I think he did a pretty good job getting under her skin this time, which is something
absolutely
that he needed to do. I think he did a pretty good job of making himself seem at least somewhat normal this time. Even in regards to a lot of the things that had happened, but still, if you're undecided, I'm pretty sure by the end of that debate you're still probably undecided. There hasn't really been much of anything that either one of them has done that has brought anybody that hasn't already made up their mind about who they're going to vote for to the table, because there hasn't been anything of substance that either one of them has really done or talked about, and that was something that I was again disappointed about in this debate. Yeah, he was a little more composed. I think he did a little bit better job. He didn't. The sniffing thing is still going on, but actually, I had a nurse friend explain that to me. Apparently, he's on some sort of medication for his prostate. That one of the side effects is apparently a runny nose. I'm not sure. So that
Which, by the way, is totally fine. Don't lie and blame it on a dang microphone. That's so stupid.
Yeah, but that guy as proud as Trump isn't going to say, yeah, I'm on this prostate medication.
I know. I mean, I'd just be like, I have allergies. Whatever. I deal with it, and I'm still kicking butt. Like, you know, I mean, there's so many ways to just use that and just not that. And that's where, you know, you can just really see his narcissistic tendencies, his stubbornness, his pridefulness, and his, you know, unwitting ability to lie straight to your face, looking right into the camera and not give a dang that it's plain as day that he is lying. I mean, that to me, I don't understand why that's not scarier to people. She lies about things all the time. I mean, I don't believe anything that comes out of her mouth, but she doesn't pick her nose while looking at you and claim she's not picking her nose. Like, things that are physically blatantly obvious, he will watch a video of himself saying something and say, no, I didn't say that. And they're like, but the video just showed, no, I don't care. I didn't say that. He just denies
it was edited.
the truth right in front of his face, to the point where, like, you can't even, you're like, okay, this is awkward now, and the reporter moves on. I mean, you know, it's such a different kind of bald-faced lies. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's just interesting, though, because you bring up the audio thing or the video thing, and that's something that even I hear a lot. And it's just interesting because you'd think, you know, when you're playing somebody's voice and they say exactly that thing that you said they said, and everybody's like, no, that's not what he meant. And you know what I hear 9 times out of 10? Oh, that's so heavily edited. So then I'll go and I'll find the whole thing and say, listen to this. Still doesn't help your case. Well, that's not what he meant.
Right.
I'm like, really?
Well, and I think all of this thing, you know, calling it locker room talk, you know, trying to excuse it as like boys will be boys, guys, you know, whatever. You know, I have grown up with a lot of really great guy friends. I have a brother, I have a cousin I'm really close with. I mean, all of my best friends through, especially high school and college, are men. And while absolutely they can be crass and there can be things said that, you know, your mom doesn't want to hear, this was totally something different. And I think the rallying of the troops to try to explain this away or defend this or normalize it is absolutely egregious. I mean, they're like 11 years ago, blah, 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 blah. They act as if he was like a 21-year-old drunk at a frat party and was caught on tape saying something, slurring something stupid. No. 11 years ago, he's still a grown man with a business empire with a show on TV. I mean, this is absurd to excuse at this point. I had someone tell me, and then he went on to treat that person respectfully, that he was saying those things about to act cool. Okay, that doesn't excuse it for me. And I'm sick of the double standard. We hate it when leftists are hypocritical. And here we are, you know, the right being just as hypocritical, circling the wagons and trying to defend the indefensible. And I don't want to stand for that. That's not what I believe. That's not how I was raised. And I think we should call out abhorrent behavior, no matter which side it's on, every time we see it. We should not stand for it. We should not condone it. We shouldn't excuse it. And people go, well, we're not excusing it. We're just saying she's worse. You know what? That's not enough for me. I don't buy that. Like, she may be worse. This was a specific act that is on the table right this minute that is absolutely awful. And to try to justify or explain it away is just absolutely ridiculous, in my opinion. I think his character has been proven, or lack of character has been proven long before this. Don't insult me by pretending this was a one-time incident or some sort of, you know, offhand comment. This is who he is. This is how he is. And it's ridiculous he's getting a pass in the GOP of all places. He is getting a pass, or at the very least, you know, a look the other way and just pretend this isn't happening, you know, as we nominate him as our party's nominee. That is despicable.
I haven't really had much of a chance to say too much on this because we had a pretty full roundtable on Sunday night that ran again Monday, and then I wound up taking last night off and had Bill and Dan on while I produced and didn't really have a chance to talk much because I'm under doctor's orders to try to rest my voice as much as possible. But what are you going to do? Both of my jobs require that I talk. So I'm not so sure how I'm supposed to rest my voice. But anyway, so I have to. This is going to sound odd coming from me. Well, maybe not. But some of you know about jobs and career paths that I've had before. I've been a private investigator. I ran a security firm. I've spent a good part of my life in one form of uniform or another. So I have been in locker room situations. And let me tell you, there are conversations that happen in locker rooms. But let me tell you what I've never heard happen in a locker room. I've never heard someone brag in a locker room about how they force somebody to do something against their will. It's usually something simple like, hey, I met this chick at a bar last night. We hung out. We had a couple of drinks. I took her home, banged her brains out. Something like that. Or, hey, did you see that chick over there at the diner when we went for lunch? Man, I'd like to see what she could do with those lips. That's locker room talk.
Yeah, I want to tap that. Things like that, yeah.
That's locker room talk. That's the stuff that guys do when their moms aren't around, when they're hanging around with each other, when they're having a few beers. But in all the times that I've spent around men and in alpha male scenarios and in professions where there's nothing but alpha men for the most part, I've never once heard somebody brag about how, hey, you know what, I made my wife take it last night. Or I went up and I grabbed this chick and I just straight up grabbed her right in her crotch. And she let me. I'm 43, almost 44 years old. I've never in my life heard that before the other night.
Think about it. Like, he nonchalantly bragged about grabbing women's genitals because he's famous and he can. That he doesn't ask for it, he just goes up and does it, and you can do that. I can do that. That kind of thing. And we're supposed to because she's so bad and she's Hillary Clinton and he's our only option, we're just supposed to shut up about it? I mean, that is part of what is so offensive to me is that, that they just want us to just deal with it. He's not perfect. Nobody is. He's just a human. He's a man. Get over it. Get off your high horse and go on and vote because Hillary's worse. And this idea that she's, like I was telling you before the show, she's some super villain that is going to destroy the earth if we do not elect the one and only Donald Trump is ridiculous in and of itself. But also, we better shut the heck up about any sort of immorality coming out of the Democratic Party from here on out. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to see a joke made. I don't want to see some snide remarks. I don't want to hear, some chest beating superiority over their, amoral behavior and conduct. I don't want to hear it because we are propping this man up to be the leader of the Republican Party and not just excusing, but justifying his behavior. And that is, as Hillary Clinton would say, 100% deplorable.
It's interesting that you bring that up because, I remember not too long ago the GOP was calling themselves the party of family values. Now in one cycle, we've become the party of locker room talk. And it's okay, by the way. Speaking of people that seem to think what Trump has said is okay, we have something from what I consider a rather surprising source, since he's usually one of the foremost supposed experts in family values.
Well, interesting, ladies and gentlemen, what happened, but nevertheless, Trump was the winner. Basically, the pundits were writing him off. I mean, let's face it, a guy does something 11 years ago. There's a conversation in Hollywood where he's trying to look like he's macho. And 11 years after that, they surface it from the Washington Post or whatever, bring it out within 30 days or so of the election, And this is supposed to be the death blow, and everybody writes him off. Okay, he's dead. Now you better get out of the way and let Mike Pence run the campaign. And the Donald says no. But as I say, he's like the Phoenix. They think he's dead. He's come back, and he came back strong. So he won that debate. The next one, we'll see what happens. But in the meantime, he speaks to adoring thousands wherever he goes. And David.
For those of you who don't recognize the voice, that was Pat Robertson, founder of the 700 Club, who actually, when I was younger, happened to be somebody that I actually used to admire. Over the last several years, I'm afraid that seems to be slowly changing, and this appears to be yet another one of those instances. What also concerns me most is, for those of you who don't know, while I was involved in a lot of those other career paths that I was just talking about, I also happened to be a lay pastor. I was never certified, but I was actually part of a small church. And as part of a small church with an elderly pastor, when she figured out that I actually was at some point considering becoming part of the ministry, she actually started teaching me and allowed me to help run the youth group, as well as actually do some Sunday morning and Sunday night sermons for several months, actually. There for a little bit, I was actually preaching almost every Sunday, just kind of alternated between either a morning or an evening service. And to hear pastors and group leaders and church leaders and supposed Christians excusing this type of behavior, just completely sweeping it under the rug, when we know it's not just talk. Look, flashback to the Clinton scenario 30 years ago. Well, take it back even further. When this stuff first started coming out about Bill Clinton, it was nothing but rumors or innuendo either, and everybody wanted to look the other way, except for the Republicans. Everybody was like, well, it's just talk. No, he's a fairly prominent guy. Somebody just wanting to try to see if they can sue him in court. Those were the things that were starting to come out in the late 80s, early 90s, and then all the way through a lot of his presidency, were all of these stories that nobody wanted to even give a second look, except for conservatives. By the end of his cycle, by the end of his 2 terms, we as a group were crucifying him any chance we could, in conservative publications, on conservative talk shows, wherever we could. This is the man that we have allowed to run the country, and look at the things that he's done. I remember hearing Rush Limbaugh lamenting the fact that there were going to be thousands and thousands and thousands of junior high and high school age children that were not going to think that oral sex was actually a sex act, because of the fact that the president lied to the American public, and then it came out later that he did do some of the things that he lied about. And now we have the same people telling us, well, it's okay to say you're going to go grab this woman by the crotch because, hey, if he can say it, why can't I do it?
Well, and here's another, I think, important thing to point out. We can condemn what has come out about him, which, by the way, this isn't the first thing. He has had sexual harassment allegations. He has had rape allegations before. We just don't have a whole lot of paperwork on them, but there are lots of people that have worked with him that have said some of these things have been swept under the rug, and I don't always believe every single one of those types of rumors, but when you kind of have them time and time again, you start to go, what's going on here? But even if none of that is true, and the only thing that is true is that he made this comment one time, we can still condemn what it was he said, which was essentially approving of, sexual assault. We can condemn that and still condemn the left for their hypocrisy of the situation, that they have put up with and approved and justified so many other things very similar and sometimes much worse on their own side with their own candidates all throughout government and every stage of it. And we can say, look, though, here's what we're doing. We're calling out our own. We're saying that's not okay. You rallied around. You tried to make it okay and normal. You kept pushing them through office. And that's where our difference is. That used to be the difference between liberals and conservatives, or Republicans and Democrats. And now we're being hit for not being loyal, for being disloyal, in fact, is a word he used just today, Trump used in tweets today. But I think it's important to say we can do both. We can say this is wrong and also you are wrong and you are ridiculous for acting so, outraged by this when you have covered up much worse or justified much worse.
I completely agree. But see, that's what I've been trying to do when we look at stuff like this is, look, I'm trying to do the best I can to call it down the middle, because that's what I feel like we should be doing in this type of a scenario. When Donald Trump screws up, I think we should hold him accountable. When Hillary Clinton screws up, I think we should hold her accountable. I still think that neither one of them are eligible to be president, in my opinion, because each of them has too many things and too many issues in their past and too many skeletons in their closet that we still know absolutely nothing about. And it's one of the stances that I've been taking now for weeks. We have at this point pretty much 100% chance of putting a president in the White House that is probably going to be blackmailed by one country or another because of things that we do not know. And that's going to probably happen with either one of these people based on their behaviors and based on the secrets and the lies and the other things that we still don't even know anything about. And that's what scares me, is the fact that we have become so enamored with this rock star status and this name recognition that we don't even really care whether the people that are running this country anymore have anywhere near our moral center anymore. It doesn't matter. Because however bad he is, she's worse. If that's it, that's if you're on our side of the argument. Or on the other side of the argument, no matter how bad she is, he's worse. And that can't be how we decide things. It shouldn't be how we decide things. Things like principles used to matter. They don't anymore, except for a small group of us that are standing in the middle going, hey guys, all we're trying to do is make you realize they both suck and we probably really should have had a different choice. But please continue to call me names. I'm okay with that.
Well, when we come back, I would like to talk a little bit more about that whole principles aspect of things.
Certainly. Yeah, we were about to have to take a break anyway. But yeah, when we come back, we'll let Jen lead off since I usually open the first segment.
I was going to say, I think I would have just gone ahead and done it, but then we definitely would have gone long. Definitely. All right, folks, when we come back, we're going to continue the conversation and we're going to continue discussing Dumpster Fire 2016 and the implications for our future, no matter who wins. And that's just kind of where I am right now. We will be right back.
It's too late to turn back now. You know I wouldn't if I could. 'Cause I'm proud as hell. I can't bring myself to do what it is you think I should.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to the line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
If I could, 'cause I'm proud as hell, I can't bring myself to do what it is you think I should.
And we're back. Actually, sorry, Jen. I thought you were going to start talking as soon as we were
I got.
My bad.
Whatever. Just blah, 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 blah. We're back. I wanted to talk about this kind of, the thing about principles and morals and values and ethics. And, I feel like I'm about to rip my hair out because I've been told one too many times that so you're just going to let Hillary win because of your quote unquote morals and principles. Well, good for you. But instead you're letting, and I was telling before, you're letting this crazy, supervillain Hillary Clinton win. And it's going to be because of you. I mean, I'm so sick of that rhetoric and all the hyperbole surrounding Hillary as if she is, and I told you this earlier before the show started. I get it. If you were in her camp and you go against her, she will squash you. She will the Clintons will find a way to make your career end, life miserable, whatever, possibly life end. Those are all rumors though. Whatever. Believe what you want. But this idea that, and people acting like, and I mean, I've got people writing at me in all caps, and these are people I love and trust and are not idiots. I mean, they're smart people, in all caps being like, it will be the end of our existence. I mean, I don't know who, she's some mastermind supervillain apparently that I didn't realize. It's kind of funny, Obama is, he is far left. He's much farther left than Hillary. And he really believes what he's saying, I think, and which is its own kind of evil. And Hillary is a corrupt, lying politician, but her love is for money and power. And and I was discussing this with some of my little misfits groups earlier, and my friends Corbin and Rebecca were saying the same kind of thing. She loves the money and the power, and she'll do anything she can to keep it, which means she's not exactly just going to be like tipping all the scales and rocking all the boats. Obama really believes in this like uber leftist agenda and will do pretty much anything to achieve that. I mean, he just proved it recently with the vote that literally was unanimous in Congress that he vetoed. So it's the idea that the entire world is going to like implode if she is elected instead of Trump, I just find like a little bit dramatic, kind of far-fetched. Do I want a Clinton in office? Absolutely not. But thank you, jerks, for giving me Donald Trump so that we pretty much guaranteed that outcome. I'm sick of this blaming it on the establishment and blaming it on these tight, really like uptight never Trumpers that are purists, and they use all of these terms and words to describe us. Uncompromising, unforgiving. I'm sorry, what? Unforgiving? These are the people that, with someone like Marco Rubio, could not excuse his participation in a bill which he then denounced, and a bill that did not even pass. But the fact that he dared to even be involved completely disqualified his candidacy for president. But someone like Trump, with all of the lewd comments and with a history of not only Democratic voting, but also donating and supporting of the Democratic Party and of various liberal causes and foundations, all of that is just to be overlooked and forgotten, and nobody's perfect, and move on. He's the only one against Hillary. I mean, they put us in this position by being purists of their own because they just got blind with this. It's almost, I don't even know. It's like they drank the water from Trump fountain and it just infected their brains. The idea that the establishment is this being, this all-powerful monster. Well, they weren't powerful enough to stop him from becoming the nominee. I don't know why they'd be powerful enough to keep him from winning the general. Also, this establishment that supposedly everybody hates, and the definition is ever changing. I mean, basically it now means anybody who dares criticize Trump is establishment. If you don't fall right in line, in step with him, then you're an establishment hack, or like the Twitter followers like to call it, cuck. So they want it both ways all the time. They're either super weak, spineless, ineffective, and, lack any ability to win, or they're super influential and powerful. You can't have it both ways. They're one or the other. Are you hearing the same kind of thing all the time? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to me. They want it to be both ways depending on whatever argument they're making at the time.
Yeah, I mean, it's whatever argument fits their narrative at that moment in time, and that's one of the things that's made it so hard for me to even keep up with these people, because it changes every single day. It's something different every single day. It's I mean, Ryan's a cuck, and he's going to lose in the primary, and because everybody hates him. And then Ryan has a landslide in his primary. I mean, a literal landslide.
84%.
And they're like,
84%.
No.
And that was
everybody still hates him.
And that was with Trump supporting Nayland, not officially endorsing him, but coming out in favor of him and saying things in order to affect, the election for the majority of the primary process. He didn't endorse didn't endorse Ryan, and very reluctantly so, at a small dinner towards the very end of the primary elections. So if that was so true, everybody was so fed up, and that's why we have Trump and, blah, 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 then Ryan would have, it would have been a challenge. At the very least, it would have been a challenge. And it was nothing. It was a slaughtering.
But let's rewind a little bit, because this is something that I like to bring up every time anybody says that I'm a part of the establishment because I'm the one that's opposing Trump. let's not forget who actually was it that did a full-on body block on the floor of the RNC when everybody was screaming for a roll call vote and they basically shouted it down. Those were the establishment folks who at that point were pulling for Trump. So every time anybody that's a Trumpster tries to call me establishment, I just look at him and say, look, you don't realize it at this point, but you are the ones that are the establishment. The establishment want him at this point.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. Let's do a quick little roll call. On what planet are these people not considered establishment? Newt Gingrich, Dick Cheney, John Boehner, Rudy Giuliani, John McCain, until he rescinded like in the last 48 hours because of the sexual assault comments, Ed Meese, Marco Rubio, and freaking Mitch McConnell. I mean, these are people that they railed against and they swear that they were going to oust, and this is why they were voting Trump and yada, yada. And now they are praising these men and they are wanting them in positions of power with Trump, all because they fell for the orange demigod. I mean, so that's the point. It's like all of these men are actually, and there's a whole list. I mean, the list is so long, and they are like the definition of establishment Republicans. They have been in office longer than I've been alive. And they somehow now are not establishment just because they decided to support Donald Trump. So it's, they go all over the place with it. And with this latest feud with Ryan, and Ryan, by the way, did not say that he was not going to, he didn't unendorse Trump. He said that he was no longer going to defend basically his asinine comments. That's what he said. He's not going to defend, the things like he heard on that video, like saw on that video, heard on that audio. He's not going to defend them. He's going to focus on defeating Democrats. He never unendorsed Trump, and he didn't even say, and yet Trump went on a full-fledged attack today. He wasted all day tweeting against the GOP and against Ryan in particular. Throw the shackles off. It as if the shackles of the GOP were ever holding him down. He's always done whatever the heck he wanted. And that's part of the problem. They even allowed him to be a part of this. But to act as if this is somehow the solution is to now fight the rest of the GOP to encourage people to screw over the GOP down ballot. Well, let's think of two scenarios here. In one scenario, he wins the White House. But because he has actively campaigned against the rest of the GOP, he loses both houses of Congress. What about SCOTUS? What about all the measures he wants to pass? What about all of his policies and bills that he wants to implement? How are you going to do that with an outrageously hostile Democratic Congress? Even if it's just one house, that Democratic Congress is going to be more hostile than I think we have ever seen, and that includes George Bush against Donald Trump. Let's say he loses and he has actively promoted the revenge against the rest of the GOP down ballot. He loses. Now we have double House majority and the White House all in the hands of Hillary Rodham Clinton. This is not a good strategy. He is actively calling for the destruction of all candidates in the GOP from the White House all the way down.
Yeah, but that's just it. He's not the only one. His CEO, Bannon, the guy that used to run Breitbart, they have now uncovered audio of him saying that it is now, as far as he's concerned, his job and should be Trump's job to, it rhymes with which, slap the GOP.
And oh my gosh, I just, this is so crazy. I mean, screaming. So apparently it's like the quote unquote right thing to do to support his candidacy and, not distract Trump. He wouldn't be distracted on like dealing with all of these, disloyal GOPers. And he wouldn't be sending all of these things and saying all these things if it weren't for them, if they would have just supported him, if they just would support him.
He would have gotten away with it too if not for you pesky kids. Sorry.
It's like, it's so silly. I said this to someone earlier. I said that argument of like, but mom, he did it to me first, doesn't fly with me if you're actually serious about beating Hillary Clinton. Like, get serious. You are responsible. He is an adult. He is responsible. And more than that, he's supposed to be the leader, not only of this dang GOP, but he wants to be the leader of the entire free world. You cannot say, well, they said bad things about me, so I had to retaliate. I mean, and this is something we've seen all along. Throwing the shackles off, oh, whatever. This is how it is. His shackles have always been off because he doesn't know how to behave in a decent human capacity. He just doesn't. And screaming for blind loyalty at this point in the game, it is so fruitless. It accomplishes nothing except for that it might reaffirm resiliency against him, which actually benefits Hillary, funny enough.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know my stance on this pretty much all along. I think this has been a plan in the works for the entire time. And his behavior right now just reinforces that to me. Because anybody that can say, look...
I know, it's so hard not to think so.
If I'm going to lose, then I'm going to take the rest of the GOP with me. There's no way that anybody who's actually trying to look out for the country is going to think that way. There's no possible way.
Right.
And let's rewind a little bit again. Who did he talk to before he decided to run? Was it, I mean, I'm sure he had conversations with his family, his spouse, etc. But who did he talk to on the phone before he made up his mind? Anybody remember? I'll give you two words or two guesses, and the first one doesn't count. It was Bill Clinton. Why would the person who was going to be running against his wife speak to him before he made his decision to run? Look, I know I've said this a lot, but I'm going to go over it again just real quick. The simple fact of the matter is I don't think he was ever supposed to be where he is right now, and I think that's why you've seen his campaign struggle and flail ever since he got here. I think the original plan was do as much damage to the GOP as you can. When somebody finally manages to knock you off, run third party, split the vote, Hillary's in the White House. I think that's been their plan all along. The problem is the plan worked much better than anybody anticipated. And now, even now, his campaign doesn't know what to do with the fact that he's at the top of the ticket. Because he cannot control himself. He cannot control his tongue. He can't keep from making stupid comments. I mean, look, I understand that it's just a comment, but a white rich man who grew up in a millionaire home should not have made a comment, well, the shackles are off, now I can fight the way I want to. Really? So you're a rich white man who was born into a millionaire family, but yet up until now you feel like you've been in shackles? You have an odd definition of shackles, sir. I mean, there were so many other word choices that he could have used that would not have been offensive to a good 30-40% of the population. I mean, especially for somebody that is supposedly trying to scrap and fight for votes at this point, and yet every chance he gets, he throws himself. He just throws himself under the bus. I mean, I swear it's like he's been trying to defeat his campaign himself for the last 6 months.
Well, right. I mean, yeah, all of that, and like I did a tweet today that I knew would bring out some trolls on purpose. And I was like, "Are you trying to compare struggling to get the votes of, struggling to get the support of GOP to slavery? You racist!" And of course, I was joking, and most people that know me got it. But I did get some trolls coming out saying like, "Oh, when slavery comes in all forms and all sorts of," and I'm like, oh my gosh, shut up, whatever. But I think that there are a couple things here that he's really missing. Number one is that this whole idea that Republicans are going to lose their elections because of withdrawing support of him. I just don't buy that. I don't think that what he's seeing at his rallies really represents the major part of the GOP. And we've talked about the plurality of him winning the primaries to begin with. We know that he does not that his supporters, and especially the diehard supporters, is not a large representation of the GOP or of the right. I think that they've been ineffective, they've been weak, they've been stupid, yada yada yada. I think that they forget the fact that while we're unsuccessful at defunding PP, that was always going to be kind of fruitless. Obama was going to take over on that, but we have upheld Hyde. We were able to uphold Hyde, which, bans federal funding of abortions. We've had victories at the state level that are just insane regarding all sorts of protections for pro-life, measures. Federal funding of religious and faith-based groups for social services has only increased under Obama, and that's because of GOP-controlled Congress. And then just a number of, there's a list that goes on and on and on, but we overlook all of these things because they're not splashy, because they didn't, directly knock down Obamacare, because they didn't directly defund PP. So we think of these really big moments that were very heavily covered by the media, and we don't think of all these other ways in which they've really been able to rein in Obama quite a bit compared to what he would have liked to have done as president. The other thing that I think, and I don't think these people are all going to be voted out because of Trump. I think most of these people, my friend CD Payne 79 on Twitter, follow him. He's so smart. He made a really good point where he said, approval rating for Congress is not the same as the approval rating for my congressman. We tend to have a much higher approval of our own congressman versus Congress as a whole. So just because you are dissatisfied with that whole, weak, spineless, ineffective Congress doesn't mean you won't go vote for your congressman that's already there. So it's a very different perspective to look at it from. The other thing that I think that Trump needs to realize is that he can effectively dodge so much of this without even making excuses for it by hitting her all day, every day about the fact that all of the choices she has made, all of the things that she has said, all the ways in which she has behaved badly have been done in service of the public, have been done in the government on their payroll, whereas his have mostly been done as an entertainer. Sure, he's donated to the government. Sure, he's tried to influence the government, but he has not been on their dime, on the taxpayers' dime, on the payroll of the federal government. So he could really hit the whole thing of that, like, no matter what it is I've said or done, I did that as a private citizen. I did it as an entertainer. I did it as a businessman. What she has done has been at the expense of your dollar. And I don't know why it's so hard to effectively say that. I don't know why it's so hard to hit that unless he really just is, like you say, a plant.
Well, let's not forget that, honestly, there are a lot of folks that could turn all of that right back around on him, especially since he's refusing to let us see a lot of his financials. So the only thing that we've been able to dig up is stuff from 10, 15 years ago where apparently he was paying zero taxes at all. So while he's pointing out, Hillary Clinton's flying around in a government paid-for jet using your money, well, technically, Donald, so are you, because you got to write off so many losses that you didn't technically pay any taxes.
Except that I would argue that also, she's been appointed to positions of power and has abused them, and she has acted in such ways. It's like the Iraq War thing. Every single time she brings that up, he needs to say, I didn't vote for it. I wasn't in government. No matter what I said on any radio show, or if I did a skywriter in the sky, it really doesn't matter. I was not responsible. I had no part in taking us to war with Iraq. You did. Your Senate record shows it. So those kinds of things are strategies, and it's not even strategy. It's just common sense. Just be like, I was not in Congress. I was not Secretary of State. I was not the First Lady. I was not, an attorney in Arkansas. Whatever it is, he can go a long way without having to get right down in the mud but he's a child, so that's never going to happen, and he doesn't take any advice. Oh, no, I'm just trying to flip it in a way in which that you actually can beat Hillary on a lot of these issues, and it's by, even with the crappy and horrible things he's said and done, and it's simply by saying, yeah, as a private citizen, in which I really did have no technical effect and responsibility as far as a government position does.
No, and I understand everything that you're saying. I like to occasionally take shots at Trump. It's just what I do.
Really? I just hate to do that.
Yeah, I know.
LOL.
Yeah, I know. But, on the way out, there is another thing I wanted to touch on here pretty quick, because I've seen a lot of people making noise about this today. And if all you did was read a Blade headline and suddenly decide that Glenn Beck was voting for Hillary Clinton, you probably either, one, should have read the article, or two, spent more than 30 seconds listening to his show today. Because that is not, by any stretch of the imagination, what he actually said. What he said is, I've done what all of you should be doing. I've seriously considered voting for Hillary Clinton. I've even seriously considered voting for Donald Trump, and I've found both of them lacking, so I cannot do this. And unlike most people in my age group, I do not consider elections binary choices. He said, in that regard, I'm a lot more like the millennials, because most millennials don't honestly believe that elections are binary, because there's hundreds and thousands of choices that we never get to see. So there are more than just two choices. And he actually is opting and using his constitutional right to vote to support one of those choices. I can't remember the name of who it was. It escapes me. It's not on the top of my head. But it was not any of the names that we're familiar with. It's not Johnson. It's not McMullen. I can't remember.
Oh, is it the Constitution Party guy?
I think so.
Daryl.
I can't remember his name.
What's his name? Daryl Carnell, something like that. Shoot. Yeah, Daryl Castle. That's what it is.
Yeah, that was it. Daryl Castle.
Yeah. He's the Constitution Party candidate.
And, a lot of people are, well, that's just a wasted vote, and since you're not voting for Trump, you're voting for Hillary. Look, no, that's part of what we need to fix with this mess, is we do not have a binary electoral system. We seem to think that we do. We really don't. And until we actually start acknowledging that fact and start bringing more choices to the table, we're never going to take the control away from these two completely corrupt, inept parties. If there's one thing this election cycle has taught me, it's that neither one of the parties have either of anybody's best interests at heart, and all they're really trying to do at this point is squabble over who gets to keep their seats at the table. And the only way that we fix that is not by destroying those parties, because that doesn't fix anything either. We need to actually come together and find parties that actually identify with the things that we identify with and start making them more prevalent. But believe it or not, we are officially out of time. So, as we always do, why don't you remind folks where they can hang out with you when you're not on the radio with me?
Pretty much always on Twitter at J Homestead and Facebook JR Homestead, and check out our site, misfitpolitics.weebly.com.
All right, and on the way out, I'm not going to mention your name, but you know who you are because you just sent me a tweet. No, just because they let him do it, that does not equal consent. And it is still our business, because he shouldn't have said anything that crazy while he was mic'd up, because even back then, he'd been talking about trying to run for office since the 80s. And on that note, we are out, folks. We will not be live this coming Thursday. My son has a homecoming game, so we're probably going to put up a replay for that one. I will be with you probably not tomorrow morning, because I'm going to take a break, let my voice rest some more, but I will be back Thursday morning, and then not live Thursday night, and then back Friday morning and Friday night with Robinson and Wright. But we're out. We're already 2 minutes into the Rhino report, so I got to get out of here so he can have his time. Have a great night, folks. Take care, and thanks for coming back with me, Jen. It was fun.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same.